All right.
Yeah.
So I do this after show, and it's based. Did you ever watch Inside the Actors Studio?
No,
It's a very old show, and it was an interview show where the guy interviewed stars, celebrities, from
Mhm.
Hollywood, and he would ask them all the same questions at the end. He had 10 questions. I have 11. Mine are obviously all pet related, but they're inspired by that show. So the first one, I'm really interested to hear your answer because I ask all of my guests these same questions. What is your favorite breed?
Scottish Terriers are actually my very favorite breed. A lot of it has to do with the fact that I don't get to see a lot of them, and they are almost always just beautiful. They have the worst attitude. It's kind of like grooming a cat, but definitely not as as dangerous for me as a cat. But they're definitely one of the things. They steal my heart every single time. I have a three-legged Scotty that comes in, and he's the noisiest little, he's a bugger is what he is. But as soon as he gets on the table, he just turns into a gentleman. So,
Oh, that's so
but
sweet. I don't think anybody said Scottish Terrier. I don't think they're that like popular, I guess.
they're really not. They're being one of the ground terriers. They tend to be a pretty nasty little attitude. But I love it. I love it. The worse their attitude, usually, the more I love them.
All right. Next, you have to tell me the other side of the coin. Least favorite breed.
I'm gonna get a lot of kickback for this, and it's not the breed itself. It's the typical owner, and that's Doodles.
I shouldn't refer the doodle
No,
member of my family to you.
No, you're fine. They're getting better. It's really the people. The Doodles, you typically are okay, but it's the people that
You know
that
what's
make
really
them.
funny? That's a really popular answer for this question. It really is.
I am not surprised. I would honestly say my next would be Cocker Spaniel. So that was my longest standing least favorite breed, and they're very time consuming. They're very difficult. Their skin is horrible, horrible skin, and so it makes it very difficult to do something pretty with them.
Is it genetically very bad skin?
They have, oh, here's one of my babies.
Oh my gosh. Hi. I love all these cameos.
There we go. Say hi, Soup.
Soup. Okay, so what's the story with Soup? Why would you name an animal Soup?
So my son is allowed to name all the cats in the house, and so my daughter's decided that she's going to name all of the reptiles that we have come through. And I like the name Flapjack, and so she kind of just stuck with the food, and she decided that this one looked like a soup.
He kind of
Also,
does look like a Soup.
she loves to swim.
Oh, it's a
It's her
she. Oh,
thing.
sorry, Soup.
Yeah, they're both girls. Here we go. There's my
Oh, how
Flapjack.
cute.
So they're very old, actually. They're rescues, both of them. They have been through now 4 college students who have had to let them go because they couldn't keep them in the dorms. So, but they're loving, they're sweet, sweet girls.
That is
So,
so cool. Have you always had reptiles or they're your first?
no, I've had reptiles for a long time. When I wasn't allowed to have pets growing up, it was easier to have reptiles because I could hide them and they're silent. So, my sister and I would sneak snakes into the house a lot of the times.
Oh my God. My sister and I never snuck snakes into the house. Never. Mom, if you're watching this, never ever was there a snake snuck into the house. I promise. So my last guests are from North Dallas. Is Dallas like just a place where a lot of people have reptiles? Because they also have reptiles.
Um, I would guess so, because a lot of people, we have a lot of reptile shows that come through. Dallas and Fort Worth both have some of the largest reptile shows that come through. And then, because I would guess just because we're such a hot state, we have a lot more reptiles that are indigenous to the area. So I don't know about anybody else from Texas, but my very favorite is the horned toad. And I remember being a little kid and catching horned toads and box turtles and everything else under the sun. And I fell in love with them as a kid. And then it just kind of went on as an adult. So I'm guessing it's the same for everybody else.
Well, I mean, if they're typical around there, like in Florida, I grew up in Miami, but in Florida we have those like poisonous toads. I can't remember what they're called. Yeah, they're poisonous to dogs. So like when you see a toad or anything like that
Like
in
cane
South,
toads?
yes. Yes.
Okay.
And so when you see a toad in Florida, your parents are like, don't touch it. Like they kind of put that fear in you. So maybe it's because you guys were allowed to play with them, but we were not. And we had to make sure the dogs never got them.
Right. No, and that's one of our biggest jokes growing up was just don't lick it, okay?
All right. So actually I'm interested to know what your response is. Do your pets sleep in your bed?
Mine do not. And a lot of it has to do with pack order, first off. And then the rest of it has to do with the fact that I have very small dogs. My cats do. My cats sleep in the bed with us, but my dogs don't, and it's for their safety. Dogs, a lot of their injuries come from jumping off of couches, jumping off of beds. And so I don't, because Echo, when she was found, both of her front legs were broken. So her bones are a little bit more brittle. And so I don't allow her on any furniture whatsoever. I went and bought baby furniture from a neighbor of mine, like the little baby chairs and the baby couch and everything. So they have their own little living room set up. So all she has to do is step up on it. But they won't use the stairs and they won't use ramps. They keep trying to jump over them. And so I was like, you know what? Nobody's on the furniture if you're going to do that. So
Yeah, you're smart. I have seen small breeds jump off the bed and break something, and then they're usually
or
seniors, and by
tweak their
then,
back.
yeah, and tweak their back. Especially my future dachshund's not going to be allowed on the bed.
Yes, no,
For sure.
dachshunds, long backs, definitely you don't want them getting up on the furniture because as they can come down and compress those discs, and
Yeah.
it's either surgery or farewell. And
Yeah.
I don't want that. I'm not ready.
You don't want either one of those things, really. I mean, if you can prevent surgery, you certainly want to. Who
Right.
or what wakes you up in the morning?
My 11-year-old every day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Most
no,
people complain that their teenagers, their preteens always want to sleep.
he's up at 5 o'clock every day. And then by 6 o'clock, he's at my door going, "Are you awake yet?"
Was he
So
always like this, or is this a new thing?
no, when he was really little, 4 a.m. was his wake up time. I got it pushed back to 5 finally.
Oh my gosh. You're a saint, woman. I'm telling you. All right. So what is your most, whoa, these are too big on me. I keep like messing with them for that reason. All right. What is your most used training command or cue at home?
Either drop it or leave it or take it outside. My cats are indoor, outdoor, and they bring me gifts on a very regular basis, and my dogs do cleanup. And so probably take it outside is the daily command.
Do they actually take it outside when you say that?
I could, yeah, normally even if they bring a toy in that's an outdoor toy, I could tell them take it outside, and they'll turn right around and take it back outside.
You need to train my toddler.
I don't know about all that because I'm still working on clean your room.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So maybe the cats just want to live rent free, and they know how to continue being welcomed, right?
Right.
All right. What is your least used command or training cue?
Probably sit. I am not really great at it. And neither are they. I do use a lot of off just when they jump because the little ones, they love to be up. And so, but definitely sit is probably the least used at this point.
And you know what? I think it was the second dog trainer that I interviewed, Dee Holt from South Florida. She says that that's not a good one, that it's just not a good one.
No, it's not natural training them to sit, and show dogs are not trained to sit at all. They don't want them.
They want them standing.
And so, just stay is definitely a good command. And then teaching them hand signals. So always working with a hand signal with each one. And I learned that the hard way. Just my former dog, as she got older, lost her hearing. And fortunately, at least with 3 of her main commands, I always use the same hand command. And so a lot of times I could still get her to behave
Right.
with just hand commands when she lost her hearing.
That is awesome. That's good advice. I mean, they say that about babies too, to teach them sign language first. Like that's the first language that you should teach them so that they can
Yes.
communicate even though they can't communicate. Yeah, that's really smart. I definitely started with the hand like stay or whatever, but I'm very bad at it now. So you're reminding me to reintroduce the hand gestures. Those are good.
And they are
All
more
right.
likely to keep eye contact with you and follow the commands.
You know, that's true. I'm going to try it with the toddler too. I'm going to be like, look at
Yes.
me. Look at me. Stop hitting
Or
your
just start
sister.
speaking to your toddler in sign language, and then they have to look at you all the
Yeah,
time.
exactly. I have to learn how to say, don't hit your sister in sign language.
Right.
Yeah. Toddler jealousy going on over here. All right. This is going to be an interesting one. What pet related noise do you love?
Um, Probably dog snoring. That is my absolute favorite when they, or when your dog gets to dreaming and they make that little the
Yeah.
chirping sound. Definitely. So I guess anything that's related to them sleeping.
Oh, when they're quietly enjoying their slumber, but they're having some chasing or doing something in their dreams. I love it. What pet related noise do you hate?
The screeching sounds. You're like a lot of the schnauzers make a more of a screaming sound, or huskies make the most horrific sound in the world to me. It grates on my nerves.
They sound like a screech owl. Yes.
Yes, yes. And so I'm not big on high pitched noises to begin with. And so when you have those high pitched screechy sounds, I'm just like, no.
And because you have these little rooms at your salon, you probably don't have the kind of constant screaming that I'm sure other grooming salons have, because they just put them in crates and the dogs that are not used to
No,
being crated just
my
scream.
yeah, the owner was kind enough to do soundproofing between each room. So yes, so
Nice.
we have soundproofing between all the rooms.
Ooh, this place sounds like a place I want to go take a mommy day for myself.
Oh yeah. My kids love to go into the rooms and just go to sleep.
Yeah, take my laptop, go do some work and maybe a
Yeah.
glass of wine if they let me sneak it in. That sounds awesome. All right, so you are a groomer, and what other profession other than grooming would you be interested in trying in the pet world? Is there something else that interests you?
Um, I actually do work with a pet trainer, but my favorite thing that she does is pet first aid and CPR. And I've talked to her, but our schedules never work out. But she does this 8-hour class where she goes in and she teaches you everything on how to handle it. And I would love that. Fortunately, I have had the opportunity to work with veterinarians in the past, so I'm pretty well versed there, but there are still some things that I'm missing in that.
Yeah, no, I used to teach pet first aid and CPR, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff that is you really just need to learn the skill, because it's not hard, but you wouldn't know it unless you study it, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
So,
What pet related profession would you never want to try?
um, probably bite training. The guys that get in the bite suits and train the dogs to bite properly. Definitely not my. It's not my thing. So I love
Wow.
Malinois. I love the German Shepherds. I think that they're all beautiful. But I'm not big on having somebody push me down and then bite me. So
Of course not. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? No, no, for sure. I totally agree with that. But you know what's funny? You're the only person who's ever said that. Nobody has ever mentioned that as a job. And I think it's probably the worst one. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of a Malinois bite either. No way. All right. So, last question. And this is where we get a little more introspective, which is why I call this part of the show Last Call. Because when you've been at the bar and you've been enjoying some drinks and your friends and you start having more in-depth conversations. So, if the Rainbow Bridge exists, Who's the first pet to greet you when you arrive?
That's gonna be Foxy. She was my first, my dog only. And she was my first baby, and she was my first foster. And she was never supposed to be mine, but she never left. After 15 years, she finally did. She let me know when she was done. But when I got her, they told me that she was very aggressive towards kids and that she had all these problems. And so I worked with her, and I actually did adopt her out twice, and she came back both times. And so I finally gave up on adopting her out and kept her. And when I got pregnant with my daughter, everybody was like, what are you going to do with her? Because, she's not a breed that is normally good with kids. And she's definitely a small dog. And, she has a history. And so I was like, well, I guess I will find somebody to take my kid. I don't know. She's my first dog.
I said that about my Titan too.
But when I brought her home, Foxy curled up underneath her bassinet and never left her side. And so she knew that was her new puppy, and she was very protective of her. And that was the last night we had her, she curled up under my daughter's bed, and she slept with her instead of me. So, but they were, my daughter was young when we lost her too, and she held her the whole time, but they prepped her and got her ready and everything. And so we both got to hold her all the
And
way
say
through the very
goodbye.
end. Yeah.
Oh,
So, but I guarantee you, she will jump over every other former pet. That big old white fluffy tail is just going to go 90 to nothing. So,
oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing that story. I love it so much. What was her name?
Foxy.
Foxy. Oh yeah, you said that.
And
Foxy was
then,
a
yeah,
what? What was she? What was she?
she was an Italian Volpino, and she had been illegally smuggled into the United States, along with her siblings. And then when they got caught, they had them all spayed and neutered, and then they adopted them out. So, but I didn't get her first. She went to a family that didn't know what they were doing, and they had 7 or 8 kids. I don't remember that. I know I had a herd of children, and
Oh my
so
gosh.
and she wasn't a fan. She just wasn't a fan of any of the kids, and so she let all of them know individually. So
Yikes. Lots of first aid there, huh?
yes, yes. So, and
Yikes.
like I said, I had Labradors at the time. I had all labs. I've never had a little dog. I was like, a little dog, ew, But I absolutely I fell in love with her. So, and that's kind of started my little dog love. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty picky. So
Yeah. Yeah. They
they
need to
have
have,
to,
they're small, but they have to have big personalities, it sounds like.
yes, huge personalities. So
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I have so enjoyed getting to know your personality. To be honest with you, I never know, especially if I don't know the guest, I'd never know how it's going to go. But this has been such a great surprise. I would love to have you back on the show in the future. If we could do like a part 2 where I dig in more about dog grooming and ask all my questions.
absolutely,
Okay.
anytime.
Awesome. Well, let's talk. Let's check back in at the end of the spring, maybe early summer, and we'll put something on the schedule.
All right, that sounds wonderful.